Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, with another episode of the podcast. It's dedicated to your Colorado Avalanche. And on today's episode, we will be discussing yet another PTO that the Avalanche have brought in for a tryout. And this one I think might stick. So we will talk about that. We will get into the Olympics, and the Avalanche will likely be well represented at the Olympic Games this year. So the good and the bad that comes with that, we will talk about that. And three players that I think, I don't want to say are on the rise. I don't want to use that, phrase it that way. I'll say three players that really can't wait to get out on the ice and try to prove something for this season. So we will get to all of that. But first things first, follow the show on social media outlets. LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, and send any questions, comments, concerns, opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and also the YouTube page. Just find Locked On Avalanche on YouTube and follow the show in video form if that's your format that you like to follow. All right, so it came out yesterday afternoon that the Avalanche have signed another player to a PTO. This time it is Artem Anisimov, and this, I don't mind this one. You know, for the Avalanche, and if you've been listening to this show or you've been hearing me on some crossover episodes and things like that, one of the things that I keep talking about, and what a lot of people are talking about in Avalanche world, is the depth. The depth is there, but it's not what it was last year. And I think the Avalanche still have some needs to address. The only way they can do that is through PTOs, because they don't have a lot of money left to go sign guys right up to that cap limit. Mainly because you are likely going to have to pay out bonuses as well. So you can't go over where you are right now. And I don't have cap friendly up in front of me, but I think the Avalanche like 2.5, right around there, left. You can't go sign a guy for 2.5 or 2.4 because you have your youngsters who are still on ELCs, and because of those entry level contracts, could have some bonuses paid out to them, which will go against the cap for next year. So you don't want to do that. So you want to find some guys that you can get for the bare minimum. Anisimov is one of those guys. So you're not going to have to pay him what's left on his contract, which is like $4.5 million. He's kind of fallen off a little bit over the past couple of years, but I just don't think he was in the right place. You know, playing with Ottawa, up and coming team, but a young team. And he is, I don't have his age in front. I know he's in his 30s, his young 30s, 33. So for the Avalanche, it could be twofold. You bring in a guy who has some veteran presence, has been a good goal scorer in the past. And you see the Avalanche doing this offseason, bringing in a guy like Ryan Murray, who we'll talk about later. Even bringing in another guy on a player tryout in Jack Johnson. I don't think that one's going anywhere because, you know, he's a defender. The Avalanche are short up on defense. I really don't think they need to bring in another defenseman between what they already have and guys in the prospect pool. But this is the other thing with player tryouts. They're not just trying out for the team that signed them to the PTO. This is basically a tryout for the entire league, and you just happen to be wearing an Avalanche jersey. So he can go sign anywhere he wants to go sign. Johnson or Anisimov can go sign anywhere they want. They're basically holding a tryout and just asking this team, let me wear your jersey while I do my tryout, is essentially what they're doing. Now, do they give the team that gave them the opportunity to do the tryout first dibs, maybe a first crack at it? Yeah, it's not guaranteed, but maybe there's some, hey, thank you for letting me display my talent. And if you're doing that with a team that is a Stanley Cup favorite, you might go chase the money. That's always a possibility. The Avalanche don't have that. The Avalanche are not going to be able to offer him what they have left in cap space. Another team might be able to do that. So for Anisimov, it might come down to that. I wouldn't mind this. He would be a great depth player for the Avalanche and where they are, because that is the question for them right now. It's not do they have the depth? Can the depth hold up for the course of a season? Because there's a lot of question marks there right now. So bringing in a guy like him, veteran presence, obviously knows the game, obviously has succeeded in the game in the past. For whatever reason, it just hasn't panned out for him the past couple seasons. Like I said earlier, I think a lot of it has to do with the team he was playing for. Get him on a team like the Avalanche, and you might see, maybe a little bit of a resurgence in him. So I'm not against this one, and if they were to eventually sign him, because like I said, he's a veteran, and it's not going to cost you a lot, and it can't cost the Avalanche a lot. So it's another guy at the Avalanche, and this is how the Avalanche are going to have to do it. They're going to have to get creative, and if they want more depth, if they're happy with who they have, which in doing these two moves doesn't seem like they are. Seems like they still want to get some guys on the roster. This is how they have to do it, because they just don't have the cap space. But we'll see where this goes. But when the Jack Johnson one came, I didn't really bat an eye. I haven't even talked about it on the show because I didn't really think much of it. I don't think he's hanging around. Anything is possible. Don't get me wrong, and he would be on the cheap too. But I see him going somewhere else. But Anisimov could be staying, and I'd be okay with that. So, all right, let's hear from a couple of our sponsors, then get into some Olympic talk. So first, let's hear from betonline.ag, and it is that time of year again, folks. If you were listening to this on the day it was released on Thursday, September 9th, there is football tonight, and it is back. So it is once again that time of the year, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. And BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th, tonight, the season opener between the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25. This is for new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. So from football, basketball, boxing, obviously hockey, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait and take action on all of the great offers available for the 2021 season. And if you head to the website and use your mobile device to sign up, you can receive a 100% welcome bonus with the promo code Locked On. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Also brought to you by DirecTV Stream, and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. I want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment that you love without the hassle. It's DirecTV Stream. Brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So stop waiting and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. And you can learn more over at directtv.com. Once again, head over to directtv.com and learn more about DirecTV Stream. All right. The Olympics. Yes, we know that it's official. NHL players are back in the Olympics this February. We thought that was likely. because when the schedule came out and there was that big chunk of nothing in February, okay, well, this seems to be trending in the direction of NHL players going back. And we got the final stamp of approval. Yes, that's happening. Immediately, you're like, okay, how many Avalanche players are going? We won't know the final rosters. I don't know when that exactly is. But it's probably going to be in January. I remember, I think it was at the Winter Classic, they did it once during intermission. I'm almost positive on that. So it's probably around the same time we will hear when at least they did at least the United States team. But you're probably thinking around the new year you're going to hear these rosters. And if you want to go listen to Locked On NHL today, Adam Denker and I discuss each country and kind of the premier players on each team for each of those countries. Obviously, I'm not going to do that for Locked On Avalanche. More talk about the potential players that could go because there's a lot of them. You have your shoo-ins like Nathan McKinnon, like Mikko Rantanen, like Gabe Landeskog, and Cale Makar. Those guys, unless they say, no, I'm not going to risk the injury, those guys are going. But if you go through this roster, and I'll just start out, ColoradoAvalanche.com on their roster page and go alphabetically, there's the shoo-ins, and then there's the guys that you could make a case for. Andre Burakovsky is one of those guys. And if you're looking around on websites and kind of seeing these hockey sites that are doing this, kind of like guessing, Burakovsky's in there on every single one. So you would almost have to count him in. Jost, no. Kadri, no. Landeskog, so let's count these. Burakovsky, yes. I'm going to count him in. Kadri, likely no. Landeskog, yes, for Sweden. McKinnon, obviously, for Canada. Let's go down. Newhook, nope, way too young. Nichushkin could be on there. So that's 5, right? Yeah, Burakovsky, Landeskog, McKinnon, no, so far, because I'm jumping ahead to Rantanen. When you mention Landeskog and McKinnon, you immediately mention Rantanen as well, but I'm going alphabetically. So that's 3, and then Nichushkin could be 4. I've seen him on some rosters, and I've seen him not on some rosters. So maybe he's one of those fringe players for Russia that does make it or does not. But he could be in there. So that could be 4. Obviously, there's Rantanen. That's 5. Byram, no, not this go around. Gerard, I don't think he will make it, but he will probably be in the conversation. So that's 6. Makar, definitely. That's 7. And Taves, again, I think he's kind of in the Sam Girard realm. I don't think Taves makes it, but he could be in the conversation. So we'll put him in there for now, but I don't think he's going to make it. 8. And we'll say 8, and we'll say 6 definites. And then for the goalies, again, Kempfer, I've seen him on some and not on some, but I've seen him on more than not. So I would put him in at 9. And then Francouz for the Czech Republic is basically on almost everyone I've seen as a backup goalie. So that's 10. If all that pans out, you could have 10 Colorado Avalanche players playing in the Olympics. If you remove, let's say you remove Taves, Girard, and who else? I mean, even if you wanted to remove Nichushkin, that's still 7, but I'm not going to remove him. I think Nichushkin could make it as 3rd or 4th line guy. You could have 8 guys, 8 realistic guys playing for the Olympics. Is that good or is that bad? And this is where it gets into, NHL players playing the Olympics. The reason why they didn't, because the owners hated it. The owners don't want to stop playing for, we're really at 3 weeks when it comes down to it. For money reasons, obviously, and for asset reasons, because these guys are assets. And if they get injured, not playing for the team that they play for in the NHL, that's not where you want them to get injured. You don't want them to get injured anywhere. And it's not like these guys slow down when they're playing in the Olympics. Maybe they don't hit as hard or as much, but they are, that's not the only way to get injured in a hockey game, is just getting checked up against the boards. They are going full bore. And you better believe if Nathan McKinnon has the opportunity to play with Connor McDavid, he's not going to slow down. That is a match made in heaven for him, and he is going to go all out. And he wants to win something. He just said when the Avalanche got eliminated that, he hasn't won. He hasn't won. You know what? He was talking about the NHL, but it doesn't matter where that guy plays. He wants to win. And if he's playing for his country and for a gold medal, he is going to play the only way he knows how, and that is max effort. So it's a good and a bad thing, because you love to see the Avalanche be well represented. On the other hand, every game you watch, you are going to be bracing and covering your eyes every time you see the littlest of hit, because yes, the Olympics are awesome and they're meaningful. But when you have a good team like the Avalanche do, you don't want any of those guys to not be there when the NHL season picks back up again, whether it's for a game or weeks or the rest of the season. Let's hope not. So that's the give and take. I love it personally. I love that they're playing for it, but yes, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be rooting for them, and I'm going to be rooting for Team USA, but also for individual Avalanche players, whatever country they're playing for. But you better believe that if there's a big hit happening, I'm going to be crossing every possible thing that I can cross that they are okay. Because this is, we're in this position last time for the Avalanche when NHL players were playing in the Olympics. The Avalanche are in a great position now to do something special for this year and future years. But with the way things ended last year, and I'm not saying if they won the cup, it would be maybe a little bit easier, but maybe it would, because you have that cup. But because you don't have that cup, and that's what you want from the fan perspective, go out there, win a medal, come back safe and sound. And that's all I'll say. Let me know what you guys think. Drop me a line. Find me on Twitter or lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. All right, let's hear from a couple more of our sponsors and then get into 3 players who cannot wait to hit the ice. But first, we're going to hear from Built Bar and BuiltBar.com. And did you know that Built Bar not only is the best tasting protein bar on the market, but everybody has their own favorite flavor when it comes to Built Bars. And if you know me, anything that's got peanut butter in it, I'm okay with. And Built Bar delivers there. So they have some good peanut butter flavors, but if you're into things like mint and mint brownie or double chocolate or salted caramel, they have something for everybody. And if you can't decide what you want, you can get a mixed box where you will get 2 of each of the 9 flavors available. And they're not only delicious, but they are healthy. 17 to 18 grams of protein. Calories range from 130 to 180. 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty and all healthy. Go to BuiltBar.com right now. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and you will get 15% off of your order. Once again, that promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. And we're also brought to you by Stat Hero. And did you know that 85% of people who play daily fantasy sports lose? I can attest to that. It's not really that surprising. Why? And it's because the game is rigged against you. You're playing against thousands of other lineups, not to mention the so-called experts who have more tools and more time than you do. You really don't stand a chance. But now there is Stat Hero. It is the first ever daily fantasy sportsbook that puts the player in control and winning within reach. And this is how it works. Stat Hero shows you their lineup and dares you to beat them. So it's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. It's winner take all, and you have the advantage. Stat Hero, they show you your lineup ahead of time. Nobody else does that. You are in control. And Stat Hero is the DFS the way it was meant to be, one-on-one. So play Stat Hero now and change the odds. Go to stathero.com/lockedon, sign up for free, and right now you can get 3 times money back on your first play. They're giving you a 300% match. That is crazy. So go to stathero.com/lockedon. Once again, stathero.com/lockedon. All right, finally. We'll do 3 players. Like I said, looking forward to getting back on the ice and kind of proving something. And then tomorrow for Friday, we'll do the opposite. 3 players who maybe are kind of tailing off or not expecting too much from. So for today, we'll do the good. Tomorrow, I guess we'll do the bad, if you want to say that. So for 3 guys that kind of are can't really wait to get on the ice for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's because of injury. Sometimes it's because it's with a new team. Sometimes because they're just trending in that direction. And for the past couple of years, you see incremental positives, and then they just can't wait to start a brand new season where it just snaps and it all comes together and it clicks. Could be a number of reasons why things like this happen. And I think a lot of people are thinking Tyson Jost for that last one. He's not on my list for today, but yes, I'm expecting good things from Tyson Jost this year. He is that guy that is trending upwards. For me, it's 2 of the guys that were injured and one because he's on a new team. And I guess we'll start with Pavel Francouz. I think for Francouz, a lot was going to be expected of him last year. And I keep saying it, and we cannot forget that he was going into a preseason battling for the number 1 spot with Philip Grubauer. We can't forget that. Would he have beaten him out? We will never know. Probably not. But it was not a foregone conclusion that Philip Grubauer was the number 1 starting every single day goalie for the Colorado Avalanche. We all know what happened. Francouz didn't play a game. He got injured. Grubauer was the man. We lost him in free agency. Now everybody was up in arms because everybody all of a sudden loved Philip Grubauer, understandably so. But Pavel Francouz was no pushover. And again, in the year prior, I just feel like it's everything has just not gone his way, because the year prior, Grubauer got injured in the outdoor game. Francouz took over and proceeded to, the very first week was the number 1 star in the NHL. And then the very next week was the number 3 star in the NHL. And he would have been the goalie going into the playoffs because Grubauer likely wasn't coming back. But COVID came, everything got stopped, and we had bubble hockey. Grubauer did come back, but he got hurt again. We all know the story. And then for last year, people were expecting a lot from Pavel Francouz. Even if he didn't win the starting goalie position outright, they were still expecting him to play a lot last season. Never happened. So now that Grubauer is gone, now you have a new goalie in Darcy Kemper, who's the number 1 guy. Francouz knows his role. He knows he's going to be the backup to Kemper, especially coming off in a injury, a full season injured. They're not going to be going into the season going head to head. He knows he's the backup, but he knows he's going to play a lot. And I think he is itching to play because he was playing some really good goaltending. So, and when you lose an entire season, even though it was a 56 game season, you are itching to get back out on that ice. And I think Francouz has something to prove. I think, he could be one of those guys. The Avalanche has some good goalies waiting in the wings to come up and not necessarily take over the starting gig, but the backup gig. So Francouz he's got, what's he got? I'm going to bring up their cap friendly quick, but He's either one. I think this is last year. Yeah, this is his last year on this contract, and he's 31, same age as Kempfer. So goalie situation is going to be interesting for the Avs after this coming season because Kempfer's only got 1 year left, and so does Francouz. So where do they go from there? That's a discussion for another time. But for this year, I think Francouz has something to prove to get another contract, maybe another 2-year, 3-year contract with the Avalanche at the end of this season. In that same realm, we'll stick with the guys who missed an entire season. Excuse me. Erik Johnson. Erik Johnson, you have to love him if you're an Avalanche fan. Awesome guy in the locker room. An alternate captain, rightly so. And same thing with him going into the bubble. All you heard about was how well he was practicing, and he looked reinvigorated, and he looked like a new guy. It looked like he lost 5 years, and he was flying around the ice in practice, and then gets injured. And then same thing for this past season. Sounded like he was having a really good training camp and started off okay, nothing spectacular, but okay. Kind of your typical Erik Johnson defensive game, and then gets flipped up, smacks his face on the ice, and he's done for the season. I get the feeling that Erik Johnson knows his time in Colorado is coming to an end. He still has a few years left. Let me get to his, what's he got? 3 years, 2 years left. And I feel like he knows the writing is on the wall for him after 2 years. So, and he knows he's on a good team. So he's got 2 years to win this thing, because after that, he's 35, I think. Let me double check his. Yeah, he's going to be 35 years old at the end of that contract. No guarantee he comes back. And if he does, it's going to be for short term. The Avalanche might not have money to bring him back, because once his contract is up, Nathan MacKinnon's come calling for a brand new deal. And all that $6 million that was going to Erik Johnson is pretty much going to Cale Makar. Yeah. Nathan MacKinnon. So I think you're going to see an invigorated Erik Johnson for the next 2 years, because he knows time is running short for him to win a cup with the Colorado Avalanche. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see him, his effort level. Not that it's ever been in doubt. You have to love Erik Johnson and the effort he puts out. But he wants to win a cup with the Avalanche, and he wants to get back out on the ice and just play a full season healthy. And we will see if he can do that, which leads to the last person where the injuries have always plagued him, and that's Ryan Murray. And that's the new guy who's coming over. And this is Joe Sakic trying to find that or tap into the talent pool and say, like, it's not working for this guy with the team he's on with the Devils. Let's see if we can bring him in there. Number 2 overall pick, has a lot of talent. Let's see what he can do when he's on a good team. So that's Joe Sakic's mindset, and that's probably Ryan Murray's mindset too. Now I'm on a good team. Now I have to up my game to hang with these guys. And I'm not comparing these two, but you saw how much better Devon Taves did when he came over to the Avalanche. Just a system that just seemed to fit him better. Not that he played poorly in New York with the Islanders, but upped his game when he came to Colorado. I'm not saying Ryan Murray's going to up his game to the level of Devon Taves, but he could up his game where you're not thinking of him as a liability on the ice each and every game. So those 3 guys, I think, are cannot wait to get back out on the ice to prove something to themselves, the fans, the team, and in the end, lift a cup. So let me know what you think. Agree, disagree. And there's other guys too, but I can do want to go on and on. We just figured we'd do 3, maybe 3.5. So I did mention Jost too, but and then tomorrow we'll do 3 guys who need to keep stepping it up, or not keep stepping it up, just step it up. Maybe they're trending in the other direction and it's not completely over for them, but they just need to really turn things around and quickly, or their days might be numbered in Colorado as well. All right. That will be it for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. I do think Kyle is going to be joining me on the Friday episode if he is available. If not, you'll just get me again. So that's going to be it for today, everybody. Thank you. It's always appreciated. We will see everybody tomorrow. Here's Jovi.